Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Wishwell Farms. Not only are we in the middle of the very beginning of our hydroponic greenhouse tomato season, which several of my past videos have been all about that, we're also at the very beginning of maple syrup season. And here on our farm, I should say my brother, not we. My brother does all of this. My brother Joel, he taps about 1,500 trees.
It might be about 1,000 trees.
Okay.
Some trees have 2 taps on them.
Gotcha.
Occasionally the big ones I'll put 3. Some of the big trees can handle it. Got to come down here really quick because I forgot to turn my pump on, and this is the releaser. This is what the sap is just starting to drip in right now. It's just warmed up.
Okay.
The sun is really shining down, and the sap's just starting to drip in. And I'll just turn this on so you can kind of see it manually. Make sure everything's stalled out. Yep, it's flowing.
So cool, man. We're actually
that.
getting sap flowing for the first time today.
First time in 2 weeks almost.
Wow, and today is February 23. So you don't have any kind of pump house. You just have, this is your pump house, and this is a releaser, and there's fresh sap flowing in right now.
Just pouring in right now. I just turned the pump on, so it's, I should have came out here earlier and turned this on, but I was out tapping other woods, and wife is sick, so someone's got to watch the kids.
And here in a few minutes, we're going to show you how he taps a tree. He's only got a few more to finish up for the season, and then he's ready to just start collecting sap and boiling the sap down and making that sweet goodness that we all know and love.
So I'll quickly show you what's going on here. Normally people, like you said, have an actual pump house where things are wired in nice and insulated. Well, I threw this together last minute, and so next year I'll hopefully have a pump house built. Okay. So this is the actual pump. It's a 3-phase 220 volt pump, so it pulls about 15 cubic feet per minute, and it's on a controller, so I can actually speed it up or slow it down depending on the vacuum that's needed. And this is the releaser. There's a electric well pump in here. So once it hits a certain level, this pump will kick on and then pull the sap down. I can turn it on manually, and that
right now the sap is flowing through this line into this tank?
Yeah.
Okay, you're just filling this tank up right now. It's an old bulk tank from a dairy. Today's February 23rd.
Yes.
This is a couple weeks later than normal. So this is going to make for a short season, most likely, which means less gallonage.
Potentially. Right. As long as it stays cold and doesn't get too many days like in the 50s or 60s, the season will keep going. Like I've talked to people who've gone to April 6th before.
Really?
I've never experienced that. April or May 23rd or 4th is the longest I've ever gone.
Okay.
So we could get a long season. It just depends on the weather.
Yep.
I mean, it could be done next week, honestly. If it never gets below freezing again, the season's over.
Okay. What's the shortest season you've ever had in the last 9 years?
Probably 5 weeks.
5 weeks? Oh, that still seems like a decent time.
Yeah, as soon as when you get so many growing degree days, I guess you'd call it that, so many days that get away from that noise, above a certain temperature, also the buds will start coming out on the trees. So when the buds come out, like where the leaves come out at, you'll get pretty rotten, pretty nasty tasting syrup. Really dark, molassesy flavored. You'll get some weird off flavors. That's stuff we wouldn't sell, more cooking grade. And so that's also at the end of the season there too. Okay. Or the tap hole will seal up and it'll just stop flowing.
Gotcha. So what is happening right now for those that are watching this? It looks like nothing's happening. Is there sap actually flowing in here right now?
Yeah, you can look
just
in there.
A little
it's kind of hard to see, but
I can see it. So it just fills up and then it automatically releases on its own.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can see it flowing in there now. So that's how much sap is flowing, just starting for the first time this year from almost 1,500 taps.
This one's got 1,000 on it.
1,000. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad it's coming in.
Yeah.
Looking pretty good.
So what's your biggest concern right now as far as something not working right or breaking down?
Everything, this is all a pretty nice system here. I'm not too concerned. I did have an issue because this isn't actually the first run. I've had a run 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a safety valve here. So if this pump stops working, the sap will get sucked up in here and then go into the vacuum pump and could ruin it.
Okay.
Well, that happened because this valve wasn't working. Wow. I just bought this last year. It's a $400 automatic valve that senses moisture up at these 2 sensors. Okay. And then it shuts off. So no sap can get into the pump. Well, that happened. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. I called the guy I bought the pump from. It's like, oh, you'll just drain it off, flush it a few times, put new filters in, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So that's my biggest concern.
Okay.
With that sap getting in there and then it freezing and then it turning on without me being aware of it, because it's on an automatic control system, this will turn on and off depending on the weather and the temperature.
Okay.
So I don't have to be out here constantly.
This is not the only place where you have all your lines running to. You have one other spot that we're getting ready to go see next, right? Where you're tapping some lines.
That one I just set a new pump, and
Okay.
I'm finishing the electrical stuff up for that right now and finishing tapping it. Just been too cold to get much else done, and the whole family's been sick for the past month off and on. It's been terrible.
It's that time of year. It's kind of going around.
Need to get outside more.
It's so nice to feel comfortable temperatures out here. It's finally above freezing for the first time in weeks. And you know, this snow's not gonna last long. We're gonna have 50-degree temperatures here in a couple days, so his sap should start really, really flowing a lot. And it's gonna get below freezing almost every night. We do have a couple nights coming up where it's not gonna get below freezing. So is that a concern? As long as it's only a couple days, it's probably not that big a deal, right?
I don't mind a couple days, but when you get 3 or 4 or 5 days of 50-degree weather, it's that bacterial growth will build up in the tap hole, and the tree's gonna try to heal. It's just like if you get a cut on a wound, it's gonna your body wants to scab over. So that's what the tree's trying to do to itself.
Okay.
Oh, one other nice thing that I've got recently is this is called a sap spy.
Oh my.
All it is just it's a cellular signal, and it reads the vacuum right here.
Okay.
And it reads the how full the tank is right here.
Oh, nice.
And then that's just a charging cable. So I can remotely see on my phone when I get an alert if this tank's getting too full. I'll get an alert if I lose vacuum. So I'll come out here at 2 in the morning if something's wrong, because I got an alert on my phone.
Now, this tank will fill up, and then you got a big, I don't know if you guys can see it, in front of my truck hood down by the road, there's a big, what, 2,000 gallon tank down there, 1,500
1,500, yeah. So this is really just a temporary holding tank.
Okay.
I haven't buried this line yet. As you can see, there's a lot of things I'm still trying to do. I was gonna bury this line so I wouldn't need this tank here.
Okay.
But this is just this line will freeze up because it's above ground.
And it has to be above ground because you can see it sneaking through the snow right there. This is a farm field that's gonna be farmed. So it's not our field. It's our neighbor's field, so we just use the line to run temporarily across the field, and then we'll pull it back up.
But he's gonna let me bury a line. I just didn't get to it. It's been too wet and too cold.
Yep. Okay, I just started releasing. That little, how much does that little tank hold right there?
I don't know, actually.
Looks like
Probably
maybe
7 or 8
a 15.
Yeah, maybe 10 gallons.
Yeah, 10 or 12 gallons probably. So as soon as that fills up, the releaser opens and pumps it into this temporary holding tank. All right, everything seems to be in order and working correctly here, so we're gonna hop back in the truck to go to another section of the woods where he has his final few taps, and we're gonna show you how we install those. Well, how he installs them. Don't you get deer running into these lines?
Not too bad. I'm surprisingly, occasionally I'll see a tap was ripped off or something from a deer maybe.
They're too smart. They just go under them, right?
Yeah, they go under or over them. Jiminy Christmas, this entire thing.
Squirrels have gotten this one good. There's one that didn't go all the way through. That one's all the way through. Unbelievable. But we have something that's going to solve that problem. It's just not installed yet.
Yeah.
Squirrel guard.
Squirrel guard. Yeah, talk to the guy who makes it. And,
I want to know your opinion of a comment I got about just throwing corn around each tree. How long would that take for you to throw corn around 1,000 trees or 500 trees?
I mean, I have to walk. It'd take a whole day probably.
Yeah, a whole day of throwing corn.
Walking 5-7 miles probably.
And the corn would last a couple days until a deer gobbled it up, I'm guessing. Yeah. Another solution, another one someone else recommended is putting metal around the tree, just like telephone poles to keep coons from climbing up a telephone pole.
I think they're still gonna.
But they could come down from the top. You can't, you know what I mean? You'd have to have it on top and bottom.
Every single tree.
Yeah, and that's expensive and time consuming.
But
it'd work on a small scale.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, this is another solution for these. I haven't put too many into this woods. This is called a dead end T. So this is a T fitting here. This is a dead end T. So if I put this here, I should just put this on this one. What am I gonna mess with right now? Is no sap. It basically stops here. So no air is gonna get pulled through this part. There's just a plug.
Okay.
There's only a hole goes here and a hole goes up. That's it.
And
those
you'll
are really
bypass
nice.
this section.
Yeah, I won't
around
even
the
use
tree.
this. There's section, but I'm not gonna mess with that right now.
Okay.
I just want to get this tapped.
All right, so we're getting ready to tap a tree. Here's how we do it.
So I go down and over a couple inches down, and
That's last year's tap right there?
There's last year's right there,
Okay.
and that's the previous year, and then the year before that.
Okay.
So this will be the 4th year on this tree. You want to use really nice bits. These are about $15 to $20 bits.
Holy moly.
Super sharp. Go straight in and out. Sometimes
No angle, right? Just
I might do a slight angle. I
Okay.
don't know if it's really necessary. And
you're just using your drill.
a lot of people have to set the drill down, get a hammer,
okay.
tap it.
That's not efficient.
It's not efficient. I can buy a $50 drill every year, or actually this will last 2 or 3 years. I'll blow the clutch out or something here. I don't really care. It's worth my time. That's it.
For those of you who have maybe new to my channel, or maybe don't even know Joel or remember Joel from any previous videos, he's an engineer, he's a mechanical engineer, so is my other brother. He is all about efficiency. In everything in life, it needs to be efficient. So that's just one example.
That's why I wear boots. You don't have to tie your shoes.
More efficient. Oh, I missed it. He just put another one in, that fast. All right, where are we going here? Right here?
Right here.
How deep you going?
2 inches is recommended.
Okay.
That's the 2. If you go further, there's no benefit.
Okay.
If you go less, you're missing out on some potential sap.
Do you know the
production.
scientific terms for the layers of tree you're going through? I'm sure someone out there knows. I want to hear about it in the comments.
If anyone wants to learn more about maple syrup production from the PhDs, the researchers, I've read a lot of the articles and things. Tim Perkins knows everything. I mean, and Steve Childs. I've listened to a lot of their talks, gone to their conferences and stuff.
Steve Childs?
Steve Childs.
Tim Perkins and Steve Childs.
They're both, Steve Childs is retired. Tim Perkins is probably getting close to retiring. One negative with doing it so close like I do is I think they probably recommend going a little further over, but you could get close to this. If you get too close, you're gonna run into non-conductive wood. So the sap won't actually flow. If I drill this hole in this same location, about 6 inches above and 6 inches below, there will be very, very little sap. So you want to go over to the right or left of the old hole, and you'll get nice, clean pulp wood coming out.
Okay.
Versus sometimes if I get too close, I can see it more of a brown tan color versus a nice whiter, cleaner look.
And you're only putting one tap on a tree this size?
Yeah.
When will you decide to go 2 taps to a tree? What size?
Well, that's an oak tree over there.
Okay,
but
like that big one there.
Yeah.
Would that would warrant 2 or 3 taps?
Yeah, I'll put 2 taps on that one.
Okay.
And I'd say those researchers I was just telling you about, they wouldn't recommend putting 3 taps in, but I do on some of the massive trees, because you think about how much ice is in, or sap that's frozen in a massive tree. It takes a long time for that to thaw out. If you have a very short period of a freeze thaw cycle, if it's thawing for only a day, and you have taps that are on the non-sun side, like on this side that isn't getting any sun, it's going to take a lot longer for it to warm up. So that's one of the benefits of putting more taps in. But the negative is you're going to potentially run out of places to tap in 20 or 30 years. You might have to start tapping down below this line.
Gotcha. And it's always got to be higher than that line.
It's better for it to be higher, because less bacteria can get into this tap hole.
And obviously, if you're doing gravity flow, you need to be high enough for your buckets or your bags, or gravity flowing into your line.
Yeah.
If you don't have a...
And want to get nice and clean, and just ruin the clutch on your drill.
I was just asking him about this unique little connection here. 5/16 line is what he normally uses. This is 3/16 line, and sap will flow through that, I guess.
Yeah, so the lines where I'm using all these on the drop, these are called the drop lines.
Yep.
These are 3/16 lines.
Okay.
And the reason I put these in is just kind of experiment, and I just never changed it up, and it's worked. These actually pop on and off, usually fairly easy. And I'll take these out and I'll wash them. Steve Childs, the guy I was talking to you about, he told me some stuff at one of the conferences. A lot of people were taking the tap and the drop line off, and then sterilizing them, and then putting them back out so you can reuse them multiple years.
Okay.
A lot of guys will just cut the tap off and put a new one on every year, and replace the drop lines every 3 years.
Oh my.
It's a lot of plastic, a lot of work. So it's just an experiment that I was messing with. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing it, whether it's beneficial or not. I don't have time to do all the research.
Yeah.
But
It'd be fun to go visit. We should go visit a maple syrup, a professional full-time maple syrup
that'd be awesome.
farm sometime.
Yeah, because I'm small scale compared to the guys that do 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 times more than I do.
Yeah. Let me know in the comments if you guys would be interested in something like that. Joel and I will take a winter trip to a maple syrup farm. There's got to be a different term. It's not maple syrup.
Sugar bush?
Sugar bush. We'll go to a professional, large-scale, full-time sugar bush operation somewhere in New England. Who knows? I don't know. Are there any huge ones in Ohio that we could go visit, or should we go to a different state that's bigger?
Pennsylvania's got some bigger ones.
Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
That sounds fun. Joel is actually getting ready to install the final tap of 2025. He thinks.
Nothing ever seems final, because then I'll find more trees like, oh, those are big enough. I can finally start tapping those. Go ahead.
How many new ones are you adding each year, you think, on average?
Probably 5 to 10.
Oh, okay, not too
Some
many.
years I have more time and I'll spend and add a lot more.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's other sections of the woods I can always venture into also.
Right.
That whole section over there, there's sections over there, but just a matter of how much time I got. And oh, that's the negative with a.
I see a little bit of an angle there.
Yeah.
Just a tad. Man,
go.
that's all you gotta do, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of all I really wanted to show you guys today, just Joel installing the last few taps. And now that things are gonna start flowing, and he'll have to make some repairs, obviously. He'll find some leaks or some things that need repaired along the way, but the next step in the process is going to be collecting the sap in the holding tanks, shuttling it about a mile down the road to his sugar shack, which is our old dairy parlor, our milk house. That's where all this takes place. Same place as our commercial kitchen. And so I'll bring you guys back to show you his reverse osmosis system. Well, first collecting the sap, shuttling it down the road to the sugar shack, and then his reverse osmosis system that removes 70 to 80% of the water out of the sap. After removing 70 to 80% of that water, it makes the boil time so much faster and more efficient for Joel to make his maple syrup. So I'm gonna show you that whole process. Also, another thing that he does after removing that water, if it's not a convenient time for him to boil down that sap, he chills the sap. He stores it all in old dairy bulk tanks, so he can cool that sap down even if it's 40 or 50 degrees outside to the appropriate temperature for some longer storage time until he's ready to boil it down. So we'll be right back and show you guys the water removal process and the boiling of the sap. Okay, it's a few days later and we're down here at one of Joel's bulk tanks that captures all of his sap. And he was actually just up there looking at it, and there's still ice in it?
Still ice from last Sunday.
Holy moly.
What's today? Saturday. Yeah, almost a week ago.
Almost a week ago.
It's been just the right temperature, not too hot.
Yeah.
And
it's still getting below freezing at night, just barely.
A couple nights it has.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been too hot during the day. And I just insulated this tank so the sun doesn't beat down on it. Just on the sunny side.
Yeah, okay, so you got
so that's one reason.
some like foam board and metal around it. Nice. All right, so he just pumped from another storage area in this woods here over the hill. Is that what's in the back of your truck?
Yeah, that's all from the neighbors.
Okay, a neighbor's woods that's adjoined to ours. You just have a quick fitting on there, open it up, fire up the transfer pump. How many gallons does this tank hold?
About 1,500.
Okay.
It's only about half full.
Okay.
But I don't have enough room to hold all of
Yeah.
it. I'll have to pump again tonight. Almost one pull. There she goes.
All right, we got sap a-flowing. Let's take a look in here and see what we got. Oh, I could feel the air pressure pushing out.
Pumps pretty fast. I don't know if you can see in there or not. See it slushing around?
Yeah, a little bit. So what sugar content
This is
is
about
that sap?
1.7. I last tested it yesterday.
Okay.
So
And you have a tester that tests
yeah, it's just a hydrometer.
Sugar. Oh,
Just a little
hydrometer,
float
okay.
glass hydrometer.
Yep.
And it's going to take, it'll be about 50, 55 gallons to a gallon.
Oh, to make 55 gallons of sap at 1.7 to make a gallon of syrup.
Somewhere around there. I don't know the exact.
And after you run it through the RO system, how strong will it be then?
I'd take it up about 15%.
Really?
Yeah, so that takes almost 80 to 90% of the water out.
Okay. Okay, and then how many gallons of that 15% sugar sap will it take to make 1 gallon of syrup?
I don't know off the top of my head. There's a quick calculation. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Like 3 to 5 gallons?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a little app on my phone. I cheat and just use that.
Okay.
The Sap Tap app.
That saves so much time. Probably 75% of your boil time. At least, right?
I would have to burn. If I didn't have an RO and I say I just did wood, the average is about 20 gallons per cord of wood. So I would have to go through about 25 to 30 cords of wood if I did just wood without the RO. And the oil, I'd probably have to do 1,500 to 2,000 gallons of oil if I didn't have the RO. I mean, it's an immense energy savings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And time and
my goodness,
fuel and money.
All right, so you're going to take these 2 shuttle tanks and this one back to the dairy.
And then I'll transfer it to the
bigger tank. You have, so we'll show all this later on in the video, but he's going to be taking all of this to a tank that's about that size. You have 3 of them at the dairy? 3 big tanks like this one down there at our dairy farm. He'll transfer all of that over to there, and then it will be pumped into the...
Actually, it's about, I'll just calculate, it's about 5 to 6 gallons at 15%.
Okay.
To make 1 gallon.
Okay, not bad. What do you call your boiler system?
The evaporator?
The evaporator. Yeah. I always forget what it's called, evaporator. We're just about full.
Yeah, overfilled a little too much.
Yep, she's full.
Oops.
It's quite a load. Off to the sugar shack. It's a windy day out here, folks. Hopefully the wind's not messing up the video. All right, we're gonna transfer all this sugary goodness from these tanks to those tanks. How much total sap storage do you have on hand here?
2,800 gallons plus the, I guess you want to count that little one.
2,800
so
gallons?
3,000 gallons.
Okay.
Plus 1,000 here.
Okay. I know people are gonna wonder how many gallons you usually get in a season of sap.
About 30,000.
Okay.
Give or take. Goodness, it is windy today.
The wind blew your lid open. So this little dinky pump is what's pumping all that?
It takes an hour.
Oh my.
I run it through a filter sock.
Oh, okay.
Like one of these.
Okay.
This is just to collect any particulates and stuff.
Good idea. So this right here is water being removed from the sap from the reverse osmosis system. Man, that's incredible. It's that it goes that fast.
Yeah, I think it's doing, actually I don't even look. I don't know how many gallons a minute. I run it through the reverse osmosis twice. So the first pass I run it through, it takes out about 8 gallons per minute of water. And then when I run it through again, because that goes from 1.5 or 2% sugar up to about 7.5, 8% on the first pass. Let me get the light on.
All right. He's gonna turn the light on so we can see in here. I don't have my LED light with me.
So the second time I run it through, it's only taking out about 2 to 3 gallons per minute right here.
Okay.
That's the permeate, and then this, which is just the clean water that I'm taking out, that I'm just dumping on the ground that you saw. And this is the concentrate. So it's between 2 and 3 gallons per minute of concentrated 15% sap, ready to boil. Okay. And that's pumping up to the tank up top. And it'll gravity feed into the evaporator.
Okay, so the big tanks are for storing straight raw sap, and then it's run through the RO system, and then the RO
ends up in here eventually.
The RO sap ready to be boiled ends up here, and then it's gravity fed into the evaporator.
That's it.
Okay. All right, I'm not gonna bore you guys anymore with pumping all this sap. but we will be boiling here real soon. Looking forward to trying some of that sweet mapley goodness. All right, that's how Joel brings all the sap from the woods up to the sugar shack. Next up, boiling it down to make maple syrup.
So I only burn maybe a quart or two of wood to make about 500 gallons of syrup a year. Main reason is I have these little waste oil burner injectors or nozzles. Okay. This is like a 3.5 or 3 millimeter nozzle, and the oil goes in right here. Actually, the air goes in right here, and the oil goes in right here. Huh. And it's simply just hooked up to the air. We'll fire it up right now on a valve.
Whoa!
Blast a little bit there. That's it. It's a little noisy, but saves me a lot of cutting.
Yeah, I bet. Open that door just a smidge so we can see in there.
It might go out because it's got to.
Oh, okay. You got to keep the door shut.
Yeah.
My goodness, that's incredible. So that's the oil mist.
Yeah.
And how many gallons did you say you go through?
A couple hundred.
Okay.
Oil.
All right, folks, this is where all the magic is happening right now. Boil away some sap. And there's actually syrup being made this very moment.
This is a 3-foot wide by 10-foot long evaporator. And the sap is coming in. There's a tank, a 250 gallon tank full of sap right now. And it's going through. Over here, there's a float box on the far side. You can try to look at it if you want.
This might be a little too steamy.
Yeah, you probably can't see from there. You might be able to go in the back side and see it. There's probably a lot of bubbled up sap.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yep, so that's a float box. That keeps the level. I set it about an inch and a half or so. And so it goes in on this side actually, and then it travels from back here, then it goes over, then travels all the way back, and then there's 4 channels through here it travels. It goes zigzags back and forth, and then it eventually comes out here as a finished syrup.
That's the finished product. I didn't realize the sap zigzagged through this evaporator so many times.
Yeah, so it's a constant feed evaporator. Like if you're doing it at your house, you're probably just getting one pot and boiling it down, then add a little more and keep boiling it down. Well, this just has a constant feed. Sap's constantly coming in, and it's being boiled off, and syrup is constantly coming out.
Okay.
So if you tested the sugar, the sweetness, it would get sweeter as you go down.
Oh.
It travels, I don't know, say 25, 30 feet.
Is that
maybe,
right? By
the time from start to finish.
Okay. And this is the finished product in here. What do you think the temperature of that is right now?
Right now, we can tell you, 217.4.
Ooh.
Right now.
Man, that's above boiling, isn't it?
You want to be
right at boiling?
7 degrees above boiling is the finished temperature. Okay. For I have an app that tells me what temperature you're shooting for in your elevation and barometric pressure. So today, 216 is perfect. Okay. I draw it off somewhere around there, and I can always add a little sap to it if it's too thick, or I can just cook it down a little bit more if it's not thick enough, or add more thicker syrup to the finished product. Right. So after it's done here, we come over and I run it through a filtration process. Some people use filter bags or maybe coffee filters. I don't know if that's fine enough filter. You need to filter out the sugar sand or niter. Yeah. And everything's a little sugary right now. Okay. So this is the finished syrup. There's probably 20-ish gallons. It's around 200 degrees, and there's a hydrometer floating here. That's how I tell how thick it is. Okay. So right now it's a little bit on the heavier side, so I'll add a little bit of some sap to it, or just not as thick a syrup, so to water it down to get to the right
really density. You can just put straight sap back into that.
Yep, or just water, RO water. You don't want to use your groundwater because it has impurities in it that could affect the flavor. Gotcha.
Okay, so after it's ready to be, after that process, where's it go to next? Over here?
So then once we get up, we have a good batch ready to filter. We'll run it through this filter press. So this has a bunch of papers. I'll show you one. Right here. There's one of these in each of these panels. Unfortunately, it's all tightened down, so I can't really show you what they look like. Each of these is a big void. It's 3/4 inch wide, and it's void on the inside. Okay. So that's where the syrup goes, and then the syrup gets pushed up against this, and this collects any of the sugar sand or niter, so it doesn't go into the syrup.
Okay.
Because the syrup will look really cloudy.
Yeah, and you just throw the niter out.
Yeah, we can't do anything with it.
Okay.
So there's condensate. There's also a preheater. I didn't show you that. Just copper pipes. The sap gets preheated because right now it's probably 50 degrees.
Yeah.
So there's, I don't know, multiple copper pipes. The sap gets preheated in there. And then there's condensate that collects because the hot steam's hitting cold pipes. That condensate collects in this pan, and then that pan water goes into right here.
Okay, that's
so
why it's all wet over here.
Yeah, that's why I use wash stuff with. And it's just nice, good, clean water, warm water. So I use beer kegs because they're easy to handle. I cut the top off, just TIG weld a new bung fitting on, and then I can actually lift it up. A lot of time I have used 40-gallon barrels, but they're just way too heavy.
Oh yeah,
I can't move those around by hand.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. These are probably heavy enough as it is.
Yeah.
All right, so then what's the next process? You're getting ready to dump this full container of syrup here.
Actually, I'm going to use this to I pre-charge it. It's with something called diatomaceous earth. A lot of people in the gardening community have heard of it. Anyone who's doing large volumes of maple syrup, we all use DE or diatomaceous earth as a filter aid. Okay. It's even used maybe in pools as a filter aid. So I'll put about 3 scoops of it in here, and I'll mix it up.
And it's like a filter aid.
Yeah,
helps it filter through here better.
I'll show you.
And it has no effect on
this. All gets
flavor.
filtered out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's just a filter medium. I'll kind of explain to you with a visual with a sponge as to how and why we use it. So the way that diatomaceous earth works, a sponge is a really good analogy. The green part, consider that the paper right here. The rest of the sponge is would be where the DE would go. So it kind of covers the entire paper with DE, and then the DE acts as a filter aid, so it has all these little holes and porous areas to catch the sugar sand. Because the sugar sand is much smaller than what the DE is on a microscopic level, so it can sneak into all these little crevices and get caught in there. And it just helps it filter. You can filter a lot more without having to change the paper as often.
Okay, so if you didn't have the, how do you say it?
The DE, diatomaceous earth.
If you didn't have it in there, you'd be going through way more of these.
You'd have to change these every 5 gallons probably.
Wow.
Maybe 10. I can get through about 30 to 40 gallons per filter change.
Okay.
So it just increases the surface area of the holding capacity of the paper.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Makes sense.
Check, make sure nothing's going awry.
Yeah. It's constantly monitoring everything, aren't you?
A lot of things going on right now. Sometimes I'm just trying to get a lot of stuff done at the same time.
Yeah. Efficiency.
Yeah. So, next we got this is our outlet pipe. Got burnt.
Oh my.
And this is the inlet. It's a little, everything's caked with sugar right now. So I'm gonna turn this on. It's gonna start sucking the sap up in here.
Okay.
The syrup.
And then it's gonna put it through here.
Yep. And then eventually it'll come out right here as finished.
So you're putting the finish right back in the same container?
Just I'm trying to get this warmed up, and I'm I'm pre.
Oh, I see. Then you're gonna put it up here in the keg.
Yeah, then I'll put it in the keg.
Gotcha.
Just want to make sure it's there it goes.
Okay, so right now it's getting filtered through here. Oh wow.
There you go.
There's the pure filtered maple syrup. Wow, it sends it through the filters pretty quick then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Eventually it clogs up though, relatively quick. So I'll run that for a little bit, and then
You want to be completely sure it's like ready to put in the keg.
Then I'll
Man, you just dribbled enough there for my pancake breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, there's always a little bit of waste. So I'll run the rest of that through here, and then I'll start pulling it from the big vat.
Okay.
Make sure I'm not burning anything right now. Looks good. It's a little on the high side, but I can get some stuff that's not as sweet. And Let me get this fired up because it needs to be about above 180 when you bottle it.
Oh.
So that's going to be a little bit cold because the cast iron has.
What do you mean when you bottle it? You're not bottling right now.
Well, kegging it. Anytime you're storing it long term, it needs to be 180 or higher.
Oh, okay.
I like to get up 190, 200 or so. Just to kill any bacteria. It's also required.
Yeah.
Either USD, ODA, or FDA. I can't remember what organization.
What temperature do you think it's going in there right now? It's already. I mean, you just put in 200 some degree syrup.
It came off at 217. The temperature probably dropped down to 200, 190.
Okay.
And then it's probably dropped again. But this is already 200, and I'm also heating it up. So then I'll test it before I even put the cap on it.
Okay.
To make sure it is at least 180, 185.
A lot of moving parts going on.
There's definitely a better method I could do to some of this stuff. I want to get a better bottling setup here.
Yeah.
But this is how I do it for right now. One step at a time. Production's the most important thing. Then I can add all the other bells and whistles later.
Yeah. So now you're sucking out of this big tank.
Yep.
And that's more than this keg will hold. So you're just going to fill the keg up, then you'll close it off.
Fill it up, and then I'll hopefully have more ready to go soon.
Okay. These kegs are all full of finished product ready for bottling, right?
Yep.
Now, real quick, something I just thought about that most people don't know we do is all the flavors you make.
Oh, yes.
So even though we got plain maple syrup here, how many flavors do you make with that maple syrup?
Got about...
He's checking his RO system.
Make sure everything's running smooth here. So I've got a bourbon barrel age. This is my most popular. I don't have any of the bourbon barrels here I could show you. I use like smaller 10, 15, 20 gallon barrels to get another more bourbony flavor.
Yeah.
Also a vanilla infused is my favorite. One of our more popular ones is cinnamon infused. We do a chai, coffee, spicy, and peppermint.
My goodness.
And then plenty of regular.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice, my next one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever poll your customers, survey your customers?
I'm always asking them which ones that, get some ideas and stuff. Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Everyone has a different flavor profile.
I don't know how well the camera will pick up the different shades of syrup there, but talk a little bit about why there's different colors of syrup.
Yeah, I wonder, that didn't do anything with the light behind it?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. There you go, that really shows it. Yeah, but how many different shades will you see through the season normally? This is just one example of light and dark.
These are kind of the two extremes. So anything in between these two, I mean maybe a little bit lighter, but that's about as light as you get. This is an old one. It looks like it got some impurities in it because it wasn't filtered. So actually, this is a good example of what happens if you don't filter it. So sometimes I just take this right out of the evaporator, and you'll get that haze or that stuff on the bottom there. Okay. You probably can't see it, but it'll be a layer of sugar sand on the bottom. Okay. And the syrup can be a little hazy if you shake it up. But yeah, so the season, usually starts out pretty light, and then as the season progresses, it gets darker, and then you get more of a stronger maple flavor. And I've had it where it actually got lighter later in the season. Huh. But then late season stuff, you start getting some off flavors, almost like molasses or even a Tootsie Roll chocolatey kind of weird flavor. It's not as desired compared to the rest of the maple syrup. Yeah. But it can vary so much. I mean, you can buy kits that have all these different flavor profiles for maple syrup to learn if you have something off that you don't want to sell, because you want to sell the best product. Right. And then other stuff you could sell it as like cooking grade or just grade B. Okay. Some people do like that. It's better for cooking and it's usually cheaper for what I do.
How many kegs are you going to fill today, you think?
Probably five. I'd say about 75 gallons.
But you didn't work all day on this. This is just part of a day?
This is today. It's a good part of the day. I'd say most of the day. I started this morning. I've been unloading soybeans across the street too. Yeah. But been out in the woods collecting the syrup or sap and boiling it. And yeah, it's a full day for sure.
And here we are, March 5th. What's your prediction? One more week?
We got some warm weather.
We got really warm weather coming next Tuesday.
Warm weather's not good for the maple trees. The buds will start to come out when you get that multiple warm days above 50 or 60 degrees. Also, the tap hole will start to heal. Yeah. bacteria and stuff is in there, and so it's trying to scab over like a wound on your arm or something. So that will stop the sap from flowing also. So there's multiple things working against us with warm weather.
It could end this week possibly.
It could possibly end
next Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, next week. We got another freeze coming, so that's good. So the sap will start getting sucked back up in the tree during that freezing process. Then it'll start flowing next fall. And we'll see. Hopefully we get another run after this warm spell next week, but it's all a flip of a coin.
Yep. If you're curious about what the finished product looks like that we sell at farmers markets, here's some of last year's syrup. You're just about out though, aren't you?
Yep. There's the bourbon barrel aged.
Bourbon barrel. What do you got there?
This is coffee and the chai. So this one's brewed in a chai tea mixture. And I filter out the chai. It's got the cardamom, clove, nutmeg, all the tea, all the good stuff.
All the stuff I don't like.
Yeah, and a typical chai. And then cinnamon, just has a cinnamon.
A lot of different sizes.
A cinnamon stick in it, somewhere floating around. Yeah, I put a whole cinnamon stick in there. So it tastes like a Cinnabon or a hot tamale almost.
And the coffee infused one actually has coffee beans.
Yeah, actual coffee beans.
Yeah.
And then the spicy one has just got a pepper in it, like a little chili pepper.
Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah.
Not my most popular. Same with peppermint. Peppermint's back there.
Do you do vanilla?
Yeah. So there's an actual vanilla bean, just about a third to a half of a vanilla bean in the vanilla. Okay. I use the lighter syrup, like the first couple runs of the season for the vanilla, because vanilla is a more subtle flavor, and I don't want the maple to overpower the vanilla too much. So it's a good compromise with the vanilla and the.
Gotcha.
They complement each other well.
And then you also have plastic bottles over here, I see.
Yeah. Either in
a bunch of different sizes. That's the quart.
This is a quart size. And we got half gallon and all the way down to like tiny little 3.4 ounce sizes. Right now it's just I haven't done much bottling yet, as you can tell. It's just a little disorganized.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the maple syrup making process, from tapping trees to boiling down the sap and making that sweet mapley magic. I'm just hanging out in Joel's easy chair while he's back here slaving away. He's got a lot of moving parts happening right now and keeps him very busy this time of year. If you are interested in seeing some more details about what happens in the Sugar Shack, me and Joel and my other brother John did a live stream last week that lasted about 45 minutes, and we covered everything in here and had a few laughs, and I even went out and talked about our old dairy farm, which is where we're at right now. So if you're interested in checking that out, I will drop a link down in the description box. And I apologize for the noise. This is a noisy area. You can't really shut things down and be able to show the whole process. So I apologize for how noisy it was. Hopefully you're able to hear everything clear enough. But I think this is where we're gonna wrap this one up tonight, folks. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll see y'all again real soon down on the farm.